Welcome back to Kicking Anxiety Out. This is our series, our Core Crew series, or the Word series as I call it, that talks about different ways on how we can remove our anxiety from our brain and our lives. First off, I do want to apologize for not having this up on Wednesday. To put it simply, life got in the way and it didn't happen on time, but it's happening now. I didn't want to skip it because there's a lot of good stuff in here, nor did I want to delay it because I'm really excited to dive into our next series. So you guys are just getting it on Sunday. So don't worry though, we will be back on Wednesday with the finale of this series, and I might even try to introduce the next one. I don't know yet, but I apologize. Forgive me. Like I said, life got in the way, but we're here. We're ready. Let's dive into this. Over the past 3 weeks, we've talked about a whole wide range of topics. Week 1, we introduced the different types of anxieties that we were going to cover this series. Week 2, we introduced the monkey mind, which is your brain that's always constantly filled with overwhelming thoughts, similar to how a monkey is like constantly screeching. And we introduced the monkey logic, which is the process of taking a thought with an avoidant behavior, so something that you do to avoid feeling anxiety, and then creating the thought pattern of because you avoided X, you don't have anxiety. And then last week we looked at different ways to spot your monkey or to identify your anxious thoughts. We looked at different ways to rule your monkey, which talked about different ways to regain the control back of your life. And then we learned to thank our monkey, which means to accept the anxieties as they are and then learn to progress through them. This week, we're finally diving into specific forms of anxiety. We're going to talk about social anxiety and shyness. We're going to talk about panic attacks, and agoraphobia. We're also going to talk about specific phobias within a broad sense. So we're not going to dive into like tryptophobia or hydrophobia or anything like that. We're just going to talk about phobias. So I really hope you've enjoyed this series so far, and I've been praying that you watching this has gained something from it to help learn about your anxieties, or to maybe share with a friend to say, hey, having anxiety is okay. But that's enough of an introduction. Let's get into it. Like last week's video, it might be slightly longer, probably on the 30 minutes to 45 minute side too. I will put the timestamps both in the description and in the post, depending on if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, to give you an idea where social anxiety will be talked about, where panic will be talked about, where phobias will be talked about. That way you don't have to sit and watch all 45 minutes at once if you don't want to. You can just dive into your specific anxiety that you want information on and then go from there. So, are you ready? I am. Let's dive into it. Part 1 that I call, why is everyone looking at me? We're going to talk about shyness and social anxiety. So let's start this section with defining social anxiety, or redefining it, like we did in week 1. It is the fear of saying or doing something that would cause others to ridicule or reject you, resulting in feelings of embarrassment, humiliation, and shame. Good news in all this, you're not alone. I say that because 1 in 20 teens and adults suffer with a form of social anxiety. So some common situations that the book mentions that could make you particularly anxious. Maybe it's answering a question in class. Maybe it's giving a report or reading in front of your class, or performing in front of others. You would think me doing this can be a form of social anxiety because I am talking to a group of however many hundreds of people. So my question to you is, any of those trigger your anxiety? If not, what makes you anxious? If you're comfortable, and I want to reiterate that, if you're comfortable, put that down in the comments below. I get anxious because, and fill in the rest of the sentence. Put that down in the comments. I want to talk about next the need to belong. History tells us that humans are pack animals. They travel in packs always. We just call them cliques. Or I don't know what your posse, whatever the 2020 version of that is, your quarantine club. The oldest humans hunted together, they got food together, they traveled everywhere together. And modern day teens, you guys want to fit in with each other. You still want to travel with each other. You may want to fit in with another clique. Now, the consequences for fitting in aren't as severe as they were back, 2,000 plus years ago, but there's still some to pay. Building relationships is essential, are needed for your happiness and for your self-esteem. Anxiety, though, joins the process in gaining these relationships and building your self-esteem. You are more likely to succeed if you have a concern that you can mess up or will mess up socially enough to at least learn from it. So here are some tools to tame the socially anxious monkey. These are ones we talked about in week 2 and I believe in week 3 too. So some of these will be reiterated, but some of these are tailored to the specific forms of anxiety, so just an FYI if I sound like I'm repeating myself. So the first tool is spot the thought. When your monkey is actively spotting thoughts that give you anxiety, ask yourself these 4 questions. What am I afraid of? What would this mean about me? What would others think of me? And what is the worst thing that could happen if this were true? Now, if any of those answers sound irrational or sound far-fetched or just sound off the wall, it's probably more than likely your monkey answering for you. So take the time to answer those questions and be honest with yourself. Don't try to hide it. Be honest with yourself. Acknowledge it. The next tool is the monkey miscalculations. Now, this was the list of, I want to say, like 10 or 12 different miscalculations your monkey can make. But I want to talk about the most common ones that do occur with social anxiety in itself. The first one is mind reading. Your monkey mind is very sensitive to criticism, so it imagines what others are thinking about you critically. If this happens, I want you to ask yourself, what evidence do I have that this is what people are thinking about me? Now, asking yourself this and answering can help you disengage or can help you kind of step back from the monkey's chatter and gain a new perspective. And trust me, when I say gain a better perspective. The next miscalculation is catastrophizing. Big word, I know. It just means your monkey is taking a giant leap to the worst case scenario or the worst thing that could happen. Now, if this happens, ask yourself, what is the likeliest thing to happen? Because I guarantee you it's not going to be the worst case scenario. And when you ask yourself, what is the most likely thing to happen? Also ask, how can I cope with that? How can I deal with that result? The next miscalculation is perfectionism. This is when you must perform flawlessly always. Anything less than that is not good enough and opens up your heart, your mind, your brain to vulnerability, criticism, and rejection. If this happens, ask yourself, am I expecting more of myself than I would of others? The next one is labeling. Labels are harsh judgments you commonly would use on yourself, but you wouldn't necessarily call like your friend or your best friend or your clique or your teammates or whatever. You wouldn't call somebody else. If this is happening to you, ask yourself, does the label that I'm calling myself apply to me all the time in every situation? Is this something I could say always? Always. I want to kind of reiterate that. Every situation, all the time. The last one we're going to talk about is the intolerance of uncertainty. If there's even a 1% chance that someone might judge you, your monkey's going to think it ain't worth it. So ask yourself, Is it better to always be safe than sorry? The next tool we're going to talk about is, next tool to tame the monkey is alternative thoughts. Now, assessing risk is way too big of a job for your monkey. You need to step back from the chatter, step outside of yourself, shut your brain off for a minute, and give yourself a chance to think differently. You now then have something else to focus on because you're denying the attention your monkey wants that it was used to receiving. So let's now talk about some tools that rules this monkey, tools to shut the monkey up. That's what I should have called this series. So to rule the monkey, you're going to need to learn how to tolerate the anxiety. You're going to need to be willing to actually feel anxious. That was probably the scariest sentence you've heard. You're going to need to intentionally feel your anxiety, to feel the heart racing, to feel it all. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about feeling those sensations in the second part of this lesson, so don't worry. But the first tool you can use to rule your socially anxious monkey is the life compass. Choose an inspiring goal, one that's important to you, that's going to help you keep progressing in life despite feeling anxious. And your goal could be mastering a specific situation. It is whatever you want your life goal to be. The next one is your challenge ladder. Whatever your goal is, you can reach it by taking it one step at a time. So picture with me a ladder. Your goal should sit at the top of it, and each rung of the ladder should be a challenge that you can overcome to get you closer and closer and closer to your goal. Now, there is a lot of variables that can come with this. So with social anxiety, ask yourself these three questions to reduce the number of variables. We call them the 3 W's. Who, what, and where. Start with this question. Who are the people you're avoiding? Rate each one on a scale of 1 to 10 with how scary it is to interact with these people. Then come up with a few responses on how you could interact with these people and where you could do it. And then rate that on a scale of 1 to 10. And then now you have an idea of where you can start, how you can set your challenge ladder up, and then can learn to take control back of your life. The next tool to rule your monkey is focused attention. It's a mindfulness tool. It helps you stay grounded in the scariest times. With choosing to focus on things that are outside of your body, so not even your breath, outside of your body. Right now, I could focus on the camera, the exit sign, the screen behind you. I could focus on some of the lights, things outside of your body. With choosing to do that, you reduce the anxious sensations that you feel within. If I focus on the exit sign so hard, so intentionally, that I'm going to forget that my heart's racing or that I'm breathing quickly. I can forget all that. To do this properly, to do this good, you kind of have to do it daily. So my recommendation to you, our recommendation, I say our because I take this from the book, practice it even when you're not anxious. To take like 30 seconds and focus on something intently, ignoring all other stimuli, but focus on one thing. And if you do that daily, then you could use it in whatever situation you need to, because you now know how to focus your attention intentionally. Focus your attention intentionally. That's a hard sentence to say. The last tool to rule your socially anxious monkey is acceptance. If you put yourself in a challenging situation and someone reacts negatively to you, your monkey is going to sound alarms off, send many anxious thoughts to your brain, and cover you with shame. This is the time where you need to take care of you. How? I want you to do these 3 steps. Take a deep breath down into your belly. Feel your stomach kind of inflate. And then slowly exhale. Don't, but purse your lips, and what that does is that pushes the air out a lot slower, so that way you are breathing out for longer. And then repeat the process until you feel better. When others are judgmental or harsh with you, it says more about them than it does you. You know you're a great person with good intentions, and if they struggle to respect you, that's on them, that is not on you. You cannot control other people's opinions of you. You're wasting your time and energy trying to impress them. It does not matter about their opinion. Because we're a church and this is a youth group, I feel like I'm legally obligated to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. It is between you and God. That's the only relationship that you truly have to worry about. Other than that, everybody else is ancillary. Whatever the outcome of your challenge, you can and will take care of yourself. So that is the end of our section on social anxiety. If you have any comments, questions about it, put it down in the comments below. I will respond to them. And I will be fully transparent. If I don't know, I will either look it up or send you some links or try and guide you in the direction to help. Start part 2 of this lesson called Am I Dying or Just Going Crazy? We're going to talk about panic and agoraphobia. So if you've ever had a panic attack, you will know how difficult it can be to believe that nothing is wrong with you. Then suddenly you feel like you can't breathe, you're having a heart attack, you're going insane, or some combination of all 3 of those. There is something actually wrong, but believe it or not, it's not with your body. It's your monkey mind at work setting alarms off when there's no true, real, actual danger. No matter how much you want to believe that panic attacks aren't scary, they are. They can actually be so intense that the thought of having one can increase your anxiety a lot. So, and this is where avoidance truly becomes such a heavy thing. It gives us this sense of self-control. I mean, think about these common avoidant behaviors. You avoid caffeine, which could make your heart beat fast or make you feel tense and jittery. You could avoid any places that you've had a panic attack before because there's some form of PTSD with that, actually. The problem with these avoidance strategies is that they're founded on anxious thoughts. When decisions happen based on fear, your monkey mind is in control. Now, you may think you experience some control, which can decrease your fear in the short term, but in the long term, it's worse for you. So to spot the panic monkey, I want to talk about the sensations that you could actually feel, because you might be wondering, how physically dangerous are the panic sensations? Actually, they're not dangerous. They're simply reactions from your fight or flight instinct, which is more evident of your body's health than anything else. So let's talk about all the different types of panic sensations that you could feel during a panic attack. We're going to talk about each sensation, the monkey thought that comes with it, and then what is actually happening. So say you feel dizzy, or you're feeling some type of dizziness or even lightheadedness. Your monkey mind will think, whoa, what if I faint? Well, actually, anxiety causes changes in your breathing so that you take in more oxygen and you breathe out more carbon dioxide. And doing this helps fuel the large muscles so that way you can outrun or fight your threat. It does make you dizzy and lightheaded, but it cannot make you faint. In order to actually faint, you need to have a quick drop in your blood pressure. During a panic attack, the opposite actually happens. Your heart rate and your blood pressure increase. Although this is a common fear, fainting is very unlikely to occur during a panic attack. The next symptom is an increased heart rate, heart palpitations, or a tightness in your chest. Your monkey mind will think, oh my gosh, am I having a heart attack? No. Actually, your heart rate increases so that your heart is pumping more oxygenated blood to your large muscles, again, letting you outrun or fight your threat. Your heart is a powerful muscle that's just doing its job. So your chest isn't kind of closing up. It's your heart kind of working overdrive to send more proper blood to your larger muscles. That way you can either, like I said, outrun your threat or fight it. The next symptom is having difficulty breathing. Your monkey thought could be like, what if I suffocate and die? Actually, your breathing does become more rapid so that you can fuel your large muscles with needed oxygen. Like we talked about, your heart is pumping more oxygenated blood. It does need the increase in oxygen. So therefore, there's your breathing issues. This can cause a tight feeling in your chest, like I mentioned, or a sensation of not being able to catch your breath. In addition, your muscles tense up to prepare to either fight or run. The muscles in your chest tighten, and you can misinterpret that as not being able to breathe. The next sensation you might feel is the tingling or numb sensations that happen happen in your face, hands, or feet. Your monkey mind may spiral and say, what if I lose control and become paralyzed of these? Well, the blood and oxygen being directed from your hands, feet, and face are going toward the large muscles in your legs and arms. This numbness and tingling is the result of that. If you were actually being attacked and injured while defending yourself, this change in circulation would actually prevent you from losing too much blood, so you have a higher chance of surviving. So again, the tingling and numb sensations, they're not anything severe, and it's actually a life preservation technique. You may get nausea or a nervous stomach or intestinal cramping or diarrhea, dry mouth, or a gag reflex. Your monkey mind will think, well, what if I throw up and can't make it to the bathroom? The digestion process actually shuts down so that more energy can go to your heart, lungs, and legs. This can cause nausea and diarrhea. If you were being attacked by a predator, though, you wouldn't be eating a bag of chips. So by shutting down your stomach, you get more energy to just bolt if you need to. You might have vision changes. Your monkey thought will be like, what if you go crazy or see some things that just aren't real, you hallucinate? It's okay. Actually, when you're afraid, your eyes widen and your pupils dilate so that you can better see the danger even in the darkness, so you kind of gain night vision. But all this does cause vision changes, but again, it's nothing harmful. You might feel hot and sweaty, and your monkey might be, uh-oh, something's wrong. Time to have a panic attack and lose control. Actually, sweat helps cool the body so that it doesn't overheat while you're running or fighting. Also, if you're sweaty, you are more slippery to a predator, so you can get away more easily. I know that's probably a gross thought that you didn't think you'd hear with this, but you're welcome. The next sensation is feeling cold and clammy. Same thought as feeling hot and sweaty. Uh-oh, something's wrong. Time to have a panic attack. Like we've heard before, blood and oxygen are actually being directed away from your hands, feet, and face toward the larger muscles in your arms and legs. With blood moving away from your hands, if you were actually attacked, you would be less likely to lose too much blood if injured while defending yourself. So again, it's a life preservation type act. So as you can see, there's actually a lot of good reasons why all these sensations occur. So let's talk about how we can tame this panic monkey. There's three we're going to talk about. There's spotting the thought again. Since panic attacks aren't driven by the situation or the sensations, but instead it's the interpretation of the sensations, you need to think about and identify what triggers your panic. They're not easy to remember, but you will uncover them by remembering how you felt, which those feelings are usually unforgettable. But make a list of all the sensations you had during your panic attack, and then write down what you were afraid would happen next to each of the sensations that you listed. And then again, you will kind of see the new thoughts, get the alternative thoughts, which we'll talk in a second about as well, and you will end up creating your new mindset. Next, the monkey miscalculations are back. List all the monkey mind interpretations next to each interpretations. Identify the miscalculations that we talked about in week 2 and week 3 that your monkey can make. Besides over and underestimating, the most common one behind panic attacks is catastrophizing, which again is just leading to the worst possible scenario. And then, as I mentioned, alternative thoughts. Write down an alternate interpretation that is based on the actual cause and purpose of each sensation. So like I said, I just went through the list of all the actual things that will happen that could happen during the panic attack. Once you see that your monkey mind's at work, and you can learn how to distinguish between the harmless panic feeling and a genuine threat to your health, you may see your overall anxiety start to decrease. And more importantly, you now have the alternative to your monkey thoughts now. There's a bigger rational part of your brain that knows who you truly are and knows all your dreams and goals in life. You can now make decisions not based on fear. And now with this alternative way to think, you can progress to the next step, which then requires all of your courage and presence of mind. Let's talk about tools to rule this panic monkey. The life compass. Let me start by asking this question. Are you willing to fight for what you're missing out on? This means you're going to face your biggest fear, your own physical sensations, and you won't wait around for them to happen or hope that they don't show up. You're intentionally facing them. Again, yes. In order to master panic, you must feel these sensations intentionally. Your monkey is probably yelling at you like crazy now, saying this idea sucks, it's dumb, you're not going to be able to do it. Acknowledge that. Say, yep, you could be right. But also recognize that the cost of doing things the monkey mind way is too high, and now it is time to take control back. Next is the challenge ladder. Again, to put it boldly, like I said, go back to the first part and listen to that explanation of the challenge ladder, because same concept. The best way to think about facing your fears with that ladder that reaches towards your life you want to live. So, very simple. Next is acceptance. We've talked about this one too. As you start your first challenge, you're going to feel sensations that might make you uncomfortable. Your first instinct will probably be to tighten up, clench your stomach, tense your muscles, and get up and move around. But remember, don't fight those sensations. Fighting them is what got you into this mess. Remember, and I love this phrase, I might start using it now outside of this lesson, is what you resist persists. By resisting these sensations, you're agreeing with the monkey that these sensations are dangerous. And to master panic, you do the opposite of your instincts and accept the uncomfortableness. A new tool to tame this, or to rule this monkey, is the welcoming breath. When we get anxious, our breathing can become very shallow and very fast. This creates a lot of physiological changes and can intensify how we feel physically. So you end up resisting them more and then breathing more quickly and shallowly, and the cycle starts anew. This tells your body that you agree with your monkey that something is up. To welcome these anxious sensations instead of resisting them, breathe backwards. Here's what I mean. Breathe in deeply, filling your lungs so that your belly softens and expands. And then breathe out completely so that your belly contracts. And then repeat this slowly and deliberately, or like I usually say, intentionally. By consciously breathing this way, you're telling your body, I can handle this. And this helps you ride out the waves of intense and uncomfortable sensations. Remember, you're not trying to relax, because relaxation techniques are based on the idea that your uncomfortable sensations are bad and must be stopped. And then as you welcome these new panic sensations, whether you feel more or less anxious doesn't matter. The point is that you're accepting the feelings themselves. You're showing yourself that feeling bad isn't dangerous. It's just a part of life and a part you're willing to experience when and if it shows up. So we're going to wrap up this part with talking about agoraphobia. Agoraphobia is a very specific form of panic. So the same tools can be applied here too, but I want to explain agoraphobia a little bit in detail because people often misinterpret it. Agoraphobia is the fear of having some kind of attack in a place or situation where escape would be difficult or embarrassing, or when help might be available. Simply put, agoraphobia is the fear of having an attack and being trapped. Common situations that trigger this are being trapped on a plane or a bridge, being trapped in a car, in a movie theater, or a classroom that's far away from the exit. It's not the fear of the plane crashing or the height of the bridge itself. Those would be considered specific phobias. An agoraphobic teen would be afraid of having an attack and being trapped on a plane or bridge. So say you're in your car going over Mackinac and you're afraid of water, bridge, height, whatever. You start to feel a panic attack coming on. That's agoraphobia. It's the fear of having the attack inside the car and not being able to escape it. And obviously you couldn't escape that until you're over the bridge. And like I mentioned, to free yourself from agoraphobia, follow the same tools to tame and rule the monkey like we talked about with panic. But this actually leads us to our last section already, what I called I'm scared of everything. Let's talk about phobias. Again, phobia is an extreme fear of a specific thing or situation. They're common and it's part of being human. But when your phobia stops you from doing what you want to do or going where you want to go, that's when it's the actual problem. A lot of people probably after this pandemic are going to become germophobic or fear of germs. And it will probably get to the point where people don't want to leave their house. Some people are like that now. I'm not putting you down. I'm just acknowledging it. That's okay. But let me see if I can't help you with your phobia. Some more specific ones. Phobias can be about pretty much anything, but some of the common ones are like animals, situations and places, like fear of the doctors and dentist's office, or things that occur in natural environments, hurricanes, tornadoes, thunderstorms, all that. Specific phobias actually come from our need to survive. Although they originate from potential threats, they're unrealistic and they are exaggerated. For the anxious teen, the part of the brain that decides what is dangerous, the monkey mind, is hyperactive and overly threat sensitive. So it makes this classic miscalculation. It overestimates the threat and underestimates your ability to deal with it. This assessment of the danger amounts to a wild guess at best. So why is your monkey doing this? Who knows? The genetics you were born with and the behavior your parents or caretakers modeled for you could have had an influence on it. There may have been a bad experience or a traumatic experience that triggered it as well. But when you're confronted with this phobia, your monkey sounds the anxiety alarm and you find yourself in fight or flight mode. You feel the threat is real and you do what you can to avoid it. Then when nothing bad happens, your monkey is the one who takes the credit for keeping you safe, reinforcing that the wild guess it made originally was true, and then it starts this process over again. The cycle of avoidance is what keeps the anxiety going. So here's some tools to tame the phobia monkey. Again, miscalculations. In addition to the over and underestimating that we talked about already, catastrophizing can happen. Again, fearing the worst case scenario. You would discount the positive. This is a new one. Your monkey forgets all the times that you have been in your feared situation and nothing bad happens. Your monkey won't take the good outcomes. Its job is to detect threat, no matter how unlikely. So meaning it does not focus on the positive. So if you have a fear of dogs, it doesn't focus on all the good experiences you've had with dogs. It reminds you of the one time you may have gotten chased by a dog, or you may have gotten bit by a dog, or you've just had a bad experience with a dog. It remembers that more so than it does the good times. The last one is the intolerance of uncertainty. Again, this is when even if there's a 0.01% chance that something could happen, your monkey will not rest. So So there's also spotting the thought. Again, we've talked about this with both social anxiety and panic. If you have any difficulty finding what triggers your phobia, ask yourself these two questions. What am I afraid of? And what is the worst that could happen if this comes true? Next, I want you to collect the data. You're capable of collecting and evaluating data. We have the benefits of the internet at our fingertips. You can determine how likely you are to be hurt by the thing you're afraid of rather than relying on just a wild guess of monkeys. If you're worried about, plane crashes, Research how often they happen. What's the percentage chance that it could happen? All the safety precautions they take. Educate yourself on how to protect yourself in the event of a plane crash. You would think it's feeding into the fear, but you're actually educating yourself to beating the fear. No matter what your specific phobia is, when you collect and compare the data, you'll see that your monkey's predictions almost never match the results. Educate yourself. Like I mentioned, educate yourself about whatever you're afraid of. The more you spot your thoughts, identify the miscalculations, collect the data, and educate yourself, the less compelling its alarms for safety goes off. Most likely, you'll feel less anxious, and you may even quit avoiding what you've been afraid of. If your anxiety is still so intense that you're still avoiding, continue listening, please, to these tools that will help you tame your little critter. So to rule the phobia monkey, again, go back to your life compass. Perhaps this is a good time to ask yourself whether overcoming your phobia is important enough for you to tolerate the anxiety that comes with it. Again, ask yourself, what are you missing out on? And are these things worth fighting for? Again, the challenge ladder. Ruling your monkey is done by taking small steps toward what you're afraid of, like climbing a ladder. And each step on your ladder will be a challenge that you can meet without feeling overwhelmed. As you meet this challenge, you're going to learn to ignore the howls of your monkey and grow confident in your own assessment of danger. A new one that we haven't talked about before is called applied tension. You can make yourself less vulnerable to passing out by using applied tension. I believe the book uses the situation of the phobia of needles or blood. This is a simple technique that raises your blood pressure and can prevent you from failing. You should do it twice a day for a week before starting your challenge ladder, and here's what you do. Sit in a chair and tense your arms, legs, and stomach. You can tense your arms by first holding out your arms bent at your sides. And normally you can make a fist and, flex pretty much too, but you hold them bent at your sides. So I would say probably more so like, I can't show you, but just bend them at your sides. You can tense your legs by sticking them out straight in front of you, so don't bend them, just hold them out straight. And for your stomach, imagine somebody threw a ball at your gut and just hold your core muscle tight, hold your stomach muscle tight. And I want you to do all these at once for 10 to 15 seconds, and then relax for 30, and then repeat the process 5 times. So tense for 10 to 15, relax for 30. Tense for 10 to 15, relax for 30, and then do that process 5 times. You may feel all the pressure in your head when you do this, and that's okay. Now, if you're under the age of 18, or even if you are over the age of 18, and if you want to do this, for my own benefit, please do it with a trusted adult nearby in case something does happen. This is reassuring me that nothing bad will happen, but consider it a fear, but in the event that something does happen, I just want to make sure you have help nearby. But like I said, if you feel all the pressure in your head, that's fine. It does let you know that the exercise is working. And once you've done this for a week, you can start your challenge ladder while at the same time practicing applied tension. If you get to the point where you no longer feel faint, you can stop doing the applied tension themselves. There's also acceptance. As you approach each of the challenges, you might go in the idea of white knuckling it, just gripping, going fist of fury. You're going to hold your breath, grit your teeth, hanging onto the handrail, hoping to fly by it. Well, when you white knuckle your way through it, your monkey is then still in charge. You're still avoiding what might happen and resisting getting too anxious. Your goal is to actually accept whatever happens. You've always avoided your phobia. Now your challenge is to face it. And this means getting anxious on purpose. When you do get anxious, to also allow the anxiety to be there without actually doing anything to get rid of it. And this is what we mean by acceptance, unconditional surrender. Your challenges work better if you go into them thinking, I'm ready to face my fear and I want to get it as anxious as possible. And then the last section is the welcoming breath again. To Control and avoid anxiety. People tense up by holding their breath or actually breathing too quickly. By tensing up or trying to relax, you're not letting your anxiety run its course. You're actually agreeing with the monkey that anxiety is a danger signal that you do need to resolve. When you're meeting a challenge by tensing up or you try to relax, you're not meeting your challenge. So to welcome it, I want you to learn to breathe into it, the exact opposite of what you've been doing. To see what I mean, think of what you're afraid of. Think of what gives you anxiety in detail. Get your anxiety working all the way to about a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, whatever that means for you. So hopefully are you feeling uncomfortable yet? Great. Now I want you to do this. Breathe in deeply, filling your lungs so that your belly expands, and then breathe out completely. And then repeat this process slowly and deliberately. By breathing into the anxiety, you're telling your monkey, anxiety ain't nothing I'm going to be afraid of anymore. You're opening up your body to give anxiety room to let itself take its course. And this is something you've never done before, so it may sound scary. But not letting yourself feel this is why your anxiety is still haunting you. Remember what I said earlier. What you resist persists. What you'll find when you're welcoming. What you'll find when you keep welcoming your anxieties is that your anxieties will begin to change on their own. At first, your fear may feel strong, like it's going to overwhelm or destroy you, but feelings can't actually hurt you. Your body is designed to feel things, and there's no emotion that can physically hurt you. I want to pause for a second, too, and say tension can. I know this from experience, that having a lot of tension built up can tighten your muscles. You will feel what I would consider pain, but it's not a permanent damage, I don't think. Again, I am not an expert. I have just read the book by Jennifer Shannon. She is the expert. I am just the communicator. So in conclusion, many people go their entire life avoiding something that on its own actually holds no threat. They may rationalize it by saying that it doesn't really inconvenience them much, but in their heart they know they long for the freedom to choose their own paths without being detoured by fear. You don't have to resign yourself this way. You have the tools to rule your monkey. Remember, you are not alone in this. You are not to blame in this. Have compassion for yourself and take courage. You can truly live the life you want to live. And that does actually end our video for today. So again, let me preface this by apologizing for not having the video up on Wednesday. Like I said, life got in the way and it just didn't happen. So, but stay tuned. At the end of this video, you will see, and it might already be up by now, I don't know, you will see week 4 of OP Adulting. We're going to talk about confidence, so how perfect we're going to talk about going from anxiety to confidence. Stay tuned for our service too. We go live at 10:30. We will be here in the sanctuary, so join us on the church's Facebook page, facebook.com/ClioBethany, to see our live service, and then I will see you right back here on Wednesday for the finale of Kicking Anxiety Out. Again, we're going to talk about general anxiety, separation anxiety. There's another one I'm not thinking of right now, and also we're going to touch on insomnia and depression too. So, but I think that's it. Oh, also, check out Fall Bible Focus. I'm losing track of my days. We're in the final week of that. Thank you for everybody that's watched. I am so proud of this project. So thank you. See you in a minute for whatever video comes next. And as always, stay blessed.